And I'm back. We're still in the fifth agreement. Remember the first four. What's the first one? Be impeccable with your word. What's the second one? Don't take anything anyone does personally. The third one, can't hear you. Don't make any assumptions. And the fourth one, do your best at everything. And then this fifth assumption, be skeptical but learn to listen. So let's get into it. Let's start on page 192. You know that it's not the truth. You know that everybody's just pretending. What are they pretending? You don't know exactly. You can't read the minds of all those secondary characters that you create. You hardly know what you're pretending, but something you can see behind all that pretending is the real person. And how can you not love the real person? Just like you, the real person comes from the infinite. The real person has nothing to do with the symbols that come from the voice of knowledge. The real person has nothing to do with any story. That's why when people die, we resort to saying, oh, they lit up the room when they walked into it, and they were the light of everything. Oh, they were amazing, when they were not amazing when they were alive. But now that they're dead, we can see the real person, the real energy. And sometimes I think we just phony and don't want to say they were an asshole, because then we think, oh, you're speaking ill of the dead. What was that, man? When you become a seer, you see what is behind the story. You understand other people, but they don't understand themselves. There's no way they will understand you, and they don't have to. The majority of humans don't have the awareness that you have. I think I have to go open the door because I think my daughter locked herself out. 1 second. You in? Shut up, Marcy. I'm reading. Okay. She's in. Now we have to wait for Marcy to decide that it's not hooligans, but the hooligans that live here. All right, here we go. Where was I at? There's no way they will understand you, and they don't have to. The majority of humans don't have the awareness that you have. They don't know why they are the way they are. They have no idea. They just survive. They don't have to believe everybody, but they believe everybody anyway. They don't trust themselves at all. They have no idea how great they are. They only see their knowledge, which surrounds them like a wall of fog. Imagine being the only sober person in the middle of 1,000 people who are completely drunk. I've been that. I've been the only sober person, especially in college. All of my friends drank, and I didn't because somebody had to drive us home. And I would watch them and be like, wait till I tell her how she acted. And of course I remembered everything and told them everything. Imagine being the only sober person in the middle of 1,000 people who are completely drunk. Are you going to have a discussion with people like that? No, because it doesn't make any sense to do that. Do you really want to believe them? You know that whatever they say isn't the truth. Although they say a drunk man never tells no lies. You know whatever they say isn't the truth. And you know this because you used to be drunk too. And everything you said wasn't the truth either. Well, not with alcohol drunk. But there was a point in time in my life when I wasn't honest with myself. So how could I be honest with others if I wasn't honest with myself? If I wasn't honest with what I could accept in my life and not accept, then I couldn't be honest with others. But when you wake up and you realize, well, this is what I want my life to be, the best thing you can do is realize you can't change anybody else. And you shouldn't want to. Who do you think you are that you should make them change? They're happy doing whatever it is they're doing. Let them be happy. Change yourself. Move on out of the way and let them have the happy life. Not in the way you're like, well, you ain't with me. Watch this, watch that. No, but in the way of, this is not what works for me in my life. So I'm going to exit stage left and let you have at it. Not with pain. You know you've grown when you wish the best for people no matter what. When you really wish that they have the best experience at life because you want the best experience at life. With awareness, you can easily understand how those minds were prepared to become what they are. But just because you have awareness, it doesn't mean that you are better than anyone else. You're not better than anyone else. That's why when people are like, oh, they're my guru, they're my sage, they're this, they're, closer to God. Ain't nobody closer to God than you, because ain't nobody closer to you than you, and you are God. Made in the image and likeness. You may be acting like a fool, but there's that God in you. But just because you have awareness, it doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else. Being aware doesn't make you superior. It doesn't make you more intelligent. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Knowing this, of course, you are completely humble. You just don't care. But there are two ways of I don't care. There's the way of the victim in the dream of the first intention, and that I don't care is just a lie. because victims really do care and they get very hurt and very injured. The whole woe is me. I used to be like that. Don't do this to me. Nobody was doing nothing to me. I was allowing things to be in my life. I was laying down on the floor like a doormat and then get mad when people ran all over top of me. I was attaching myself to the back of the pickup truck and then wondering why they dragging me down the street. Let go. Where was I at? Okay. Where was I at? Okay. They all have those emotional wounds that are full of poisons and defense mechanisms that say, oh, I don't care. Of course they care. And of course you won't believe that I don't care. When you are a seer, humans are extremely predictable. You can see that all humans in the dreams of the victims are possessed by the main character of their story. This is their point of view, their only point of view. There are some people, no matter what you say to them, their way is the only way. And that's okay, because in truth, their way is the only way for them. You don't have to try to convince them. I remember Jehovah's Witnesses used to, when I lived in New York, they used to come to my aunt's door and she'd be like, oh, everybody be quiet. Everybody be quiet. I'm like, why are we being quiet? She said, because the Jehovah's Witnesses here. I don't want to know I'm here. I'm like, why don't you just go to the door and tell them you don't want to be bothered? Oh, no, don't do that. I walked right to that door, opened the door. I said, hey, my aunt would prefer if you didn't knock on her door anymore. And they were like, the guy said, are you prepared to meet the Lord in the hereafter? And he had a watchtower. And on the watchtower, it was 2 white people, 2 white children, and a little black dog. And it says, prepare for the hereafter. And I said, so where are you at in there? Because the man was black. He said, what you talking about? I said, are you the dog or are you not going to be in the hereafter? He said, oh, this is just a picture. I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And then I said, I think I'm going to invite him in, because at that time I was real powerful to the people. I'm going to invite him in. And by the time I finished wrapping him up around my finger, because I was arrogant too, thought I knew a little bit of something. Now I know I don't know nothing. He came in, he sat down, and by the time he left, he had deduced that I was unsavable. And that was okay with me because he couldn't save me. Anyhow, so that's the part. His point of view, he was not going to listen to mine. And truthfully, I wasn't listening to his point of view. I was just as arrogant. My point of view was the way. I was the way, the truth, and the light. And if you don't believe me, you can't get to the Father because I'm the one giving you the way. Craziness. And of course, I believe in both the Father and Divine Mother. The way they see life is very narrow. That was me. Very narrow-minded. And it's narrow because their belief acts like a mirror that only shows them what they believe. And it's obvious that that is not truth at all. They project what they believe on you, and you perceive what they project on you. But you don't take it personally because you don't make the assumption that what they are projecting is true. That's where I am now. People can believe whatever they want to believe, and I go, you don't say. That's wonderful, marvelous, remarkable. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody used to watch The Little Rascals? The one where what's his name? Spanky was babysitting for somebody. And the little boy kept going, remarkable. And he said, will you stop saying that? And he said, okay. And he said, okay, I'm not going to say it anymore. And then he said, for the love of Pete, stop saying it. And he said, remarkable. And Spanky said, that's where I got that from. I'm telling my age. I know people said The Little Rascals was racist, but all the shows back then were racist because they didn't care about us. Hey, what was I at? You know, what they project is what they believe about themselves. When somebody looks at you and says, you're da-da-da, that's what they believe about themselves. Say, you don't say. You don't have to accept it. You are who you say you are. I tell my students this all the time. They come, Miss Beckwith, she said I'm fat. And I say, who is she? And they'll say the person's name. I go, okay, well, who is she? And they're looking at me funny, like, I just said her name. I'm like, no, who is she? Like, why does her thinking you're fat mean anything? Do you think you're fat? Yes, I said, that's the problem. You think you're fat. So you need to deal with you. And the reason why she called you fat usually is because she's fat too. Or she has some other defect that she wants to hurry up and push off on you so nobody can see her defect. These are middle schoolers, y'all. They got a bunch of issues. What's that? You know this because you used to do the same thing. Yes. Once you become a seer, you see everything that other artists do to themselves. But your point of view is completely impersonal. The process of unlearning takes you to a place where there's no longer a judge and a victim in your story. It's just a story. And you know that it's your creation, but it's just as if it's happening to somebody else. You see all the stories, you see all the symbols, you see how people play with all of that, but it has no effect on you. It doesn't offend you because you are completely immune. You see faces, you love the faces, but you are also aware that there's something that doesn't belong to your dream. It's the personal dream that other artists are dreaming, and you have complete respect for their dream, for their creation. That's when you are what we say woke. That's when you recognize that you get to control you. You're driving your ship and nobody else's. And when you realize that, you don't even have to argue with anybody. You let them believe whatever they want to believe because it's true. It's absolutely true for them. It doesn't have to be true for you. I remember telling somebody once when I was leaving religion, they said, well, God's going to do this and do that and do that until you come back. And I said, well, why would God need to do that? He got you. Why would he need to pull me back in? If I don't want to be with God, you think God going to want me to be with him. God going to put me in a headlock and bring me back because God just won't. No. And I would rather go to hell on my own merit, if that's such place, than to get in heaven on somebody else's credentials. Because if I don't believe it, then that's not my credentials. And once I started living like that, I feel like I've become more authentic in who I am because I've decided that I get to be who the hell I be. It took a long time to get to that. But I's here now, y'all. I's Sophia and I's sitting down to stay a bit. And I'm having a little menopausal moment. Jesus, I'm telling y'all, I'm grateful for menopause because that means that I am alive. But it takes a moment for me to stop and just fan the sweat. Thank you for hanging there with me. Okay. Respect is a beautiful word and is one of the most important symbols that we can understand. Imagine that you have never heard this word before, and let's make it up and agree on its meaning. Because just like any other symbol, we need to agree with the symbol or it won't work for us. That's what words do. So we agree that this is what this word means. And when you agree with that, where the problem comes in is when somebody says, no, well, that's not what it means to me. Well, you just making up definitions now. That's not good. That's why it's important to get a dictionary and understand the meaning of every word so that when you're speaking, my dad used to say this all the time, Tracy, say what you mean and mean what you say. Because that way there's no confusion. Now, if somebody says, well, when you said you was mad, I thought that meant you wanted to fight me. But that's not what I said. I said I was mad. So if you thought that, you're projecting because obviously you want to fight me, I guess. I'm just saying, use the word properly. Respect is a beautiful word and it's one of the most important symbols that we can understand. Imagine that you had never heard the word before, and let's make up and agree on a meaning. Because just like any other symbol, we need to agree with the symbol or it won't work for us. Respect, like many of the symbols, begins with ourselves, and then it goes out to everyone and everything around us. If we don't respect ourselves, how can we respect anyone or anything else? And when you don't respect yourself, you will allow people to do things to you that are disrespectful because you don't have the respect for yourself. A person who respects themselves has boundaries, not suggestions. If you say to a person, let's say you're eating dinner and you say, don't touch my food, because if you touch my food, I'm getting up and I'm leaving the dinner table. And they touch your food, you go, didn't I say don't touch my food? Well, that wasn't a boundary, that was a suggestion. So they don't keep touching your food because you just making suggestions. You don't respect yourself, they can't respect you. They obviously have their own issues with self-respect, but you teach people how to treat you by what you allow them to do the first time. I didn't used to like this when I would hear, I think it was Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I didn't like that because I'm like, well, people can change, they can be that way for a minute, but then they can change. Well, they can change. But what's the motivation to change if you accept it? There's no motivation to change. So they probably won't, except for they decide to change, because people only change when they decide to change because it's all about them, as it should be, just like your life should be all about you. So when you respect yourself, this means you accept yourself just the way you are. It took a long time for me to accept that I'm not some little waferly thin little girl. I'm just never going to be that. But I also don't have to look like Petunia Pig, okay? So for me, just accepting my body just as it is when I fell in love with Tracy fully. When I'm like, you know what? Yep, this is what Tracy looks like. And if Tracy wants to look different, Tracy got to put the pie down. When you respect everything in nature, the animals, the ocean, the atmosphere, the earth, this means you accept the entire creation just the way it is. When we arrive in this world, everything was created already. But when we get here, we like, I want to change this, and that because I's here now. And God is probably going, and? Oh, it wasn't our choice to see what it wasn't our choice to see what had to be created or not. It was done, and we respect it. Can we do it better? Maybe, but I don't think so. Then respect is about the complete acceptance of everything that exists just the way it is, not the way we want it to be. This is more or less one meaning of the word respect. Once you accept yourself just the way you are, you no longer have any judgments about yourself. Once you accept everybody else just the way they are, you no longer have any judgments about them. Then something incredible happens in your world. You find peace. I found that peace. You're not in conflict with yourself, and you are not in conflict with anybody else. I found that when I accepted myself fully and accept other people, I'm in full peace. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to change nothing. I had one of the teachers that works at the school that I don't know. I must remind her of somebody that she didn't like because she didn't know me, but she just was hell-bent on being rude to me. And last year, it just hurt my feelings. And I try to get her to get to know me. So if she just gets to know me, she'll like me. And then one day I said, what the fuck I need her to get to know me for to like me? Why? What is knowing her going to do? What is her knowing me going to do? And I realized that whatever it is that I remind her of, whatever is going on, it is what it is. Show enough to the show enough. We're teaching summer school together now, and our classes are kind of close to each other. And I accept that she doesn't speak, so I still speak in general because that's just who I am. So I'm like, good morning, everybody. And I walk onto my class. So she's like, good morning, Miss Beckwith. So I said, hey. And then she said, I like your hair. And I said, thank you. Then we started talking this week in summer school. It was yesterday, on Monday in summer school. She said, and I quote, you remind me of this girl I went to high school with. Girl, I could not stand that girl. Bam. There it was. So I said, well, now it makes sense. She said, yeah, we did it. And I said, because you be treating me funny. She said, no, I don't. She didn't even recognize it, but she was treating me funny. So we'll see how it works out now that I'm not the girl she went to high school with, because she's from Texas and I'm from Virginia. So I didn't go to high school with her. Anyway, what was I at? Oh, I'm sorry. All of the conflict that exists in humanity is because there is no respect. Every war is because we didn't respect the other artist's way of life. Instead of respecting their rights, we start imposing what we believe on others. Instead of peace, there is war. Respect is like a boundary. What we call our rights and respects go together. We have our rights just as everything that exists in the universe has its rights. We live in a world that we share with billions of other beings, and respect makes it all possible for the dreams to live in harmony, to live in peace. In the dream of the second intention, we begin to create a personal heaven. And when we reach the dream of the third intention, our life is heaven. Heaven is a kingdom where we are the king or the queen. I have my personal kingdom and it's heaven, but it wasn't always heaven. It became heaven the moment that I no longer judged myself or anybody else. When I decided to respect my kingdom completely, and when I learned to respect everybody else's kingdom, the fifth agreement is also about respect, because I respect the other artists when I listen to their story. Instead of helping the other artists to write their story, I allow them to write their own. When you allow people to show up the way they want to show up in life, you still have a choice. You don't have to be around them. You can say, because you're not going to change them, okay? People are going to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want to do it, regardless of what you feel. And I'm not saying it in a way like, oh my God, people are so trifling. No, I'm saying that they have a right to live the life the same way you want to live your life, let them live theirs. You can move out the way. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be there with them. It ain't got to be you. So you can move on out the way with love. You know how you know that you've grown? When you recognize that somebody else's opinion doesn't have to be your fact. And that somebody else's fact, because they right, they factual, they know, they just know. And it's okay. You go, okay, you don't say. I like doing it like that because it keeps it light and it doesn't create issues. So I'm to be curious to see how she treats me the next time she sees me. Now that I said to her, well, that's why you treat, she said, I didn't treat you like that, but she did. She was so kind of cold to me, or she would look me up and down, or just rude. Anywho, let's see if it keeps going on now that I know exactly why she saw me that way, because I reminded her of a girl she didn't like in high school, and I'm 56. She looks to be probably in her 40s. Anywho, that's all we're going to do today. We're almost done though, y'all. A few more days and we can move on to that next book because we spent a lot of time in this. In full transparency, I was getting tired of this book and I was like, maybe I shouldn't read all of the book. But then I knew that I was supposed to, because being impeccable with my word, I have promised myself that 5 days a week, I'm going to read for no less than 15 minutes, it's been 20 minutes, and give my little commentary. Like I said, this ain't audible. This is me talking. This is me sharing. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. It's okay. It's always okay, right? So if you do like it and you think maybe one of your friends will like it and you want me to get my 78th subscriber, because I'm at 77, y'all. I'm big balling. You can, say, hey, go subscribe to her channel and listen. And if not, it's all good. I'm going to be here. Thank you so very much for your time. Let me shout out my daughter, because this is Microlinks My Hair, and then if you know what Microlinks are, it's a little clamp where she puts it all in between your hair so you get the fullness you want, more curlier. Well, the hair is curly hair. So then when I, put the curly stuff in my hair and stuff in this hair, it's much more full. So it feels so Diana Ross-ish. Yesterday, I don't know if I had it out. She hadn't cut it yet, but now she's cut it and framed my face. I thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye.